Hello, Star Warriors, and welcome to my channel, Elixir Tunes. And happy Pride Month, all denizens of the galaxy. I hope that you've had a good one, despite the horrors. Everyone deserves to love who they love, identify however they identify, and be respected and affirmed in that identity. Thankfully, the galaxy far, far away is just as diverse as our own. There are dozens, we might have hit more than dozens of LGBTQI plus Star Wars characters. And today, I'm going to go over some of them. I'm not going to do an exhaustive list. We're not going to go down the entire uh, list of canonical gay people. But we'll go over a few of my favorites and some of the stories that they're very prominent in. So come along. To start off, representing the L in LGBT, the disaster lesbian herself, Dr. Shelley Lona Afra. She debuted in the 2015 Darth Vader comic by Kieran Gillen, and quickly became one of the breakout characters of the modern canon. She is a rogue archaeologist who steals ancient artifacts. But unlike Indiana Jones, she takes these weapons and sells them to the highest bidder. Her story is a lot of interweaving webs of bitter exes, underworld debts, and Darth Vader mainly, who recruits her to work for him as his secret agent, an assignment that Afra knows will inevitably lead to her death. And so she has to kind of outsmart and outwit him in order to regain her freedom. She's a great character. If you want to read her story, at least the majority of her story, you should start with either the Darth Vader comic or Dr. Afra's solo comic by Kieran Gillen that begins in 2016. The latter half of which moves from Kieran Gillen to Simon Spurrier, and then the series relaunched in 2020, written by Alyssa Wong. And let me tell you, it's the gayest comic ever. Dr. Afra has two girlfriends. Every other character, practically, appears to be some form of queer. There are trans characters, non-binary characters, gay characters, lesbian characters. It's a romp, and it feels like a messy web of crime and love, and it's great, and you should read it. Moving on. Representing the G in LGBT, we have Vildar Mak, Jedi Master Vildar Mak, and his husband, Tay Sarek. Their story can be found in the High Republic Phase 2 comic book. That's the one with the blue label. Vildar Mak is a Jedi Knight sent to the holy city of Jeddah, which you might remember from Rogue One. But this is about 350 years before it exploded. So it's bustling. There are dozens of Force related religions and cultures that hold Jeddah City as a particularly holy place. But not all of them agree on why it's holy or why it's important. And so this leads to a lot of disagreement, a lot of cultural clashing. And so they are ruled by, or I guess not ruled, but Jeddah City is overseen by what's called the Convocation of the Force, a council with representatives from the different Force religions that consider Jeddah to be a sacred site. Vildar Mak is sent to Jeddah on behalf of the Convocation to help keep the peace. You know, it's a very fun, adventure story where he's tracking down stolen relics and secret organizations and cults. And Tay Sarek is the first person he tangles with, a former guardian of the Wills, the same group that Chirrut Imwe from Rogue One is a part of. Tay is a vagabond, a roguish kind of character. Some might consider him a thief. These two characters couldn't start off more opposed, but they become less opposed, if you know what I mean. Yes, that's right. These two do, spoiler alert, I guess, even though you clicked on this video, so you know there's gay stuff. These two both end up being gay characters, and their relationship is extremely entertaining to watch as it develops from a antagonism to a closer to a rivalry to eventually full-fledged partners. Vildar is great. Tay is great, and these two characters, uh, you know, are a great representation uh, of being gay, and I know that because I'm gay. Next up, covering the B spot in LGBT, our pansexual smuggler, gambler, Baron administrator. We have Lando Calrissian. You know, I should have made a joke. The B stands for Baron Administrator. Anyway, you may be surprised to hear that Lando Calrissian is pansexual. Well, he is. I'm not gonna lie to you. There is a shocking lack of Lando relationships with someone not gendered feminine. But he is pansexual. It's canon. He sleeps around, but beyond that, he holds a love for all kinds of different beings, including his droid crewmate L337. At least it's implied. There's not really they don't I don't think ever outright say that, but it's kind of a will they won't they with his droid, which is, you know, take that as you will. If you're wanting a great Lando story within canon, though, obviously watch Empire Strikes Back or Return of the Jedi or the countless animated appearances throughout Rebels or comic book appearances throughout the years. But the one that I would want to point out, because I think he gives the most bi or pan energy in this, is the Han and Solo novel Last Shot by Daniel Jose Older. It's a great story that kind of jumps in time from Lando's early days with L3 on the Falcon to Han and Chewie's days on the Falcon to the present of the novel, which is set in the New Republic era, with Han recently becoming a father, Lando recently becoming an uncle, and beginning to settle down and find the one who will eventually be the mother of his daughter. I love this story. It is a fun romp while also having some really great character work for both Han and Lando. Some incredible secondary characters as they put together this crew to take on a strange droid crisis that appears to be going on. And it's just a lot of fun. Daniel Jose Older is also one of my favorite authors in Star Wars. He's great, and I don't think any of his Star Wars work is a miss. So, if you want some bi feeling Lando or pan feeling Lando, Last Shot's the best you've got, I think, for now. I'm still holding out hope that Donald Glover will give us that Lando show, or maybe it'll be a movie, or whatever. I just think that we deserve to see this character in all of his pansexual glory, in live action, on screen. Maybe that's just for me, but I think it's for everyone. Covering our next section, covering the T section of LGBTQIA+, we have Rue, a transmasculine Jedi that appears in the High Republic Adventures comics for Phase 3. He is a cool vigilante working behind enemy lines in the occlusion zone, taking on a mask of the Nile and kind of this really cool leather getup to fight them on Corellia. the heart of their power in a lot of ways. He is such a cool character, extremely underrated, and talk about that design. I mean, come on, serving. Um, his story is really fun to read, as is all the other High Republic stuff. But I think his in particular, you can drop in to the High Republic Adventures Phase 3, um, as well as the specials that come off of that, like Crash and Burn, Dispatches from the Occlusion Zone, and the Battle of Iriadu. And you'll just have a great time with him. It's a character on this list that I wish we had a little bit more of, but I couldn't not mention it because he's just so damn cool. Moving on to the Q in LGBTQIA+. A lot of these characters, I will level with you, would more accurately be considered queer, as we don't really have the word gay or lesbian in Star Wars. It's kind of weird, but what can you do? In the galaxy far, far away, those aren't, I guess, labels? But that being said, the person that I chose for the Q that I think is giving the most queer energy is Crash or Alice Ongwa from High Republic's Phase 1 and 3. Particularly for this character, I would suggest either Crash and her crew do what they do, or Midnight Horizon. Crash and the Crew being by Daniel Jose Older, as is Midnight Horizon. Crash and the Crew is a short story within the High Republic Annual #1, and Midnight Horizon is a young adult book. So, whichever you'd prefer. I think both are great showings for her character. She is a teenager who leads this group of bodyguards on Corellia. This gang of misfits, as is common in Daniel Jose Older's work, is also made up of a bunch of different characters with varying sexualities. But Crash has a on-again, off-again relationship with the space pop star Svino, who they have this tumultuous relationship that is very kind of like very queer coded. If I mean, come on, we all know someone who has that paramour, that kind of, they can't seem to stay together, or they don't have a label for what they are, but they're closer than can be, and that's very much the vibe of Crash and Svino's relationship. Crash and her crew end up helping the Jedi on Corellia as they begin to investigate Nihil presence. And Crash becomes a much bigger character in the third phase of the High Republic. Moving on, we don't actually have any confirmed intersex characters in Star Wars, which is a little bit weird. You'd think that with how big the Star Wars universe is, we might have at least one or two confirmed intersex characters, but none that I could find. If you find some, please tell me. I would like to be wrong about this. That being said, it's fake and in space, so you could just decide that any character that you like in your headcanon is intersex, and that's valid. Do whatever you want, because there's nothing in the text saying that that's not true. So, have a ball with that. Moving on to the A in LGBTQIA+, we have a bevy of asexual characters to choose from in Star Wars, but the one that I will stick to for this episode is Vernestra Rowe, because she appears a lot. She is, I think, the most prominent asexual, aromantic character in Star Wars. She is a Jedi Knight. When we first meet her, she's the youngest Jedi Knight in the Order to ever be knighted at 15 years old. She takes on a Padawan at 16, and she's kind of a prodigy throughout the High Republic books. She's awesome. She has a light whip, and she has these visions as she goes through hyperspace. And, you know, they mess with her. She sees dead people. She sees places she couldn't possibly know, spirits that are supposedly long gone. It is awesome to read and see how that develops through the three phases of the High Republic, and then a little bit more in the Wayseeker Acolyte, a book by Justina Ireland. Wait, no. The Acolyte Wayseeker, a book by Justina Ireland that ties into the Vernestra that we see on screen in The Acolyte, who has changed quite a bit, being 100 years older than the last time we saw her. That connective tissue is really well needed, and I can't wait to read more about her as she exists. I mean, nothing. High Republic might be over, but nothing in Star Wars goes away. I'm sure there will be more stories about Vernestra, and I cannot wait to read them. She's asexual, aromantic, and for this particular character, I would highly suggest her debut appearance, which is A Test of Courage by Justina Ireland. Or if a young adult book is more your speed, I would recommend Out of the Shadows, also by Justina Ireland. Both are exceptional, in my opinion. I know some people didn't care for Out of the Shadows, but I, for one, loved it. I loved the tangle of Senate intrigue that Vernestra finds herself in, and I think it really informs a lot about the character going forward. Her distrust of the Senate, particularly, which we see in The Acolyte, but also her knowledge of these visions that she gets when she's traveling through hyperspace, her understanding of Mari Santeca and the Nile, and the whole nameless mystery that becomes apparent throughout the rest of the High Republic. Yeah, give it a read. I really like the character, and if you like it, there's plenty more Vernestra where that came from. And now for the plus. There's so many plus. There's everything plus. There's so many. Just to name a few that I really like off the top of my head. Vi Marati. She is an asexual resistance spy. You might have met her if you went to Galaxy's Edge, because she's at Galaxy's Edge. She's she originates in publishing from the Phasma novel by Delilah S. Dawson, but she appears again in the Black Spire novel. Sinjir Rath Valus, the first canonically gay character in Star Wars, I believe. He appears in the Aftermath trilogy by Chuck Wendig. Great character, a former Imperial who really has to grapple with what he did in the war and how he can make amends for the future. Wonderful character, fantastic, three-dimensional Imperial who, switches sides and sees the light. Great character. Shout out to Legends. Juhani, the very first canonically, or I guess confirmed, not canon anymore, but the first confirmed lesbian in Star Wars. She's a companion that you can get in Knights of the Republic, and she is specifically intended to be lesbian. You can romance her if you're a woman in that game. If you're not, you can't. So, pretty cool stuff, not just for Star Wars, but for gaming in general. At the time, it led to BioWare embracing that sort of thing for Dragon Age and Mass Effect in the future. With that, are there any LGBTQ Star Wars characters that you love that I failed to mention? Are there any that you headcanon as queer? Because there's a lot that could be read that way. I always thought R2 and 3PO, something's going on there. That's not a heterosexual relationship. Those two are life partners. But all that to say, I hope you all have a happy Pride. I know things can be really dire, but just relax today. I appreciate you. I hope you know you're appreciated. And, keep on being you. Star Wars is for everybody, except for fascists. Have a good day, and may the Force be with you.